There's no way to make it sound interesting. There's just not. I can't build this up any more than it is. But I'm going to say the words, and I'm going to sound excited. Hammers Chat are making a jigsaw. It does sound boring, doesn't it? Apologies. Well, what can I say? It's a jigsaw. It's not a Lamborghini or anything like that. You can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter, can't you? And this particular turd has been rolled in an awful lot of glitter. No, look, we were going to do a jigsaw. Do you remember these? Mishmash? Is that upside down? Remember these? I can't even see at the moment. I have my glasses on. That's the right way up. We were going to do a jigsaw with Mishmash. We're not anymore. Basically, what we're going to do is we're using everybody's favourite animator, Canning Town Len, and we're doing a jigsaw, which is going to feature the stadium and you lot in it. And then you'll be able to go onto the Hammers Chat shop, buy the jigsaw, buy things like this, like that. That's Len's handiwork as well. The generations of a West Ham fan. A lot of crying in between, basically. All you got to do is go on to Canning Town Len /jigsaw, and then if you pay a £5 and you've already had a portrait done, he'll put you in the jigsaw, in the crowd scene. The clip that I'm going to put up now is just an example of it. It's going to be a bigger scene, it's going to be the stadium, and it's going to be there's a lot busier than that, but you can basically be in the jigsaw. The good thing is you pay a £5 and you get a £5 off the price of the jigsaw as well. If you want to be featured in it, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff over Christmas in the Hammers Chat shop, which is going to have a lot going on in it. Go and check out Canning Town Len. If you haven't had your portrait done, get one done. I mean, the portraits are fantastic. Go and check out Canning Town Len /Hammers Chat if you haven't got any of this stuff done so far. Anyway, right, listen. Davy Moyes is on the back foot ever so slightly, I think. It's received criticism. I don't mean just for the loss, and I hadn't thought about this, by the way, but for the fact that after European games we've lost our next game. Obviously, so the Man United game with the Noble penalty thing, and then this one. Now, it's starting to be put down to fitness. And it might be. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not poo-pooing that necessarily. But I think it's an easy link to make. I think now, so early in the campaign, it's an easy link to make as well, because if it was like 5 or 6 games into the group stage or whatever the case may be, I would think it was probably a little bit more accurate. But I'm not so sure. I do think there were... Basically, I don't think we lost both of those games with such tight margins. I don't think we lost the Man United game just because of fitness. I really don't. There was a whole load of decision-making near the ends. Then you had the Fabianski dropping the ball in front of Cristiano Ronaldo, the whole Jesse Lingard factor, the penalty. There were a lot of mitigating circumstances. It's hard to look at that game in isolation and say, well, West Ham lost that game because of fitness. And I think I'd certainly say the same about the Brentford game as well. In the second half, which is where you would assume that fitness would tell, right? If West Ham was struggling for fitness, surely would be better in the first half and more crap in the second, basically. That didn't seem to be the case at all. I felt we were really coming into the game. We had loads and loads of pressure. I felt where we missed out was technique. We'll get onto that in a second, because David Moyes has spoken about the lack of a cutting edge. However, the fitness thing, not so sure. Not so sure on that at all. Because we were still going right until the end. Obviously, not right until the very, very end. And you'll have your own opinions as to whether Ogbonna's mistake, which gave away the free kick, was down to fatigue or not. I don't know. I'll let you decide that one. It's certainly not something I particularly went into very much in the review or in yesterday's moaning, grumpy, grouchy old video. But Ogbonna did have his part to play in the defeat. I think it's fair to say that. And I think it's easy to associate the fitness and the European thing with the reasons why we lost. And I think if you just fix that, you probably still lose the game. My point is, there were decisions and choices that could have been made in both games, the Man United game and the Brentford game, which could have either won West Ham the game or got us the draw. I think against Man U we could have got the draw. I think against Brentford we could have won, and probably should have won, really, if we just had a little bit more about us. David Moyes was going to make substitutions. I think he at least had Vlasic ready to come on. Whether there was going to be another, I don't know. Then Bowen scored. And by Moyes' own explanation, he thought that at that point we were having wave after wave of attack, which we were, and we were going to break through. And I don't agree with that. And what's happened is Bowen scored a goal, a great goal, really fantastic goal, it has to be said. I think still make the change. Now, whether Vlasic would have been that change for me, probably not. But we don't get to see what goes on in training. It's highly likely that Nikola Vlasic has been tearing it up in training. And if you've been watching him do that all week, then actually I can understand why you might look at the bench and think, okay, this guy's going to come on and get me a goal. It doesn't matter. He should have done something because technically we were struggling. We were struggling to open them up. I thought Benrahma was one of the better players technically, but he wasn't quite able to get the full purchase and the curl on his shot. At least he was able to control it. There were a load of players in there who basically couldn't trap a bag of cement for some reason. Players who are normally pretty damn good technically, their touch deserted them a little bit. So try something else, do something different. And this brings me back to something that concerns me more than the fitness. We'll get into this in more detail, I'm sure, particularly as we've got this international break. Well, I was going to say coming up, which is upon us, which the amount of games Rice, Soufal and Souček have played, not just for West Ham, but for their countries, and now in Europe as well. And even if you go back to just before Souček signed for West Ham, he'd been playing in European competitions for Slavia Prague as well. So you're dealing with a lot of fixtures. We'll deal with that and how that impacts your fitness at whatever, at a later date, later on this week. I felt more pertinently than that was the lack of the substitutions. And I don't want to go over what I said yesterday, but the lack of the substitutions goes back to, does Moyes trust his bench? And this is really the key factor. He's not looking at that bench and thinking there's someone on that bench who can open up the defence better than Benrahma. He's not looking at that bench thinking there's somebody on that bench who can score a goal more easily than Pablo Fornals. And that is a worry. I don't like that, because that means we're almost in the same position as we were before, which is I didn't feel he used the bench well enough. That's why I packed the bench with goalkeepers and things like that. What I didn't want to happen was us to bring these new players in and him not use them, because, and this is about fitness, we do have a small squad, so surely you've got to rotate them. And if I feel anything, there was that little bit of rotation. It might have been fitness, it might have been sharpness, it might have just been technique, but for somebody to come off the bench and do something different. And this is what David Moyes said. He said a lack of cutting edge. He said what let us down was a lack of cutting edge. We weren't clinical at all. Well, as far as I can see, when you look at that, if you look at the front four, if it were, you can't accuse Bowen of lacking the cutting edge or of not being clinical. He was the only person that was that. Benrahma, I don't think Benrahma's form and his technique have completely deserted him. I think Benrahma needs people to play 1-2s with and things like that. And I felt everybody else's touch had let them down. Antonio didn't play badly. I gave him a 6 in the Patreon player ratings afterwards. But I did think it took him up until about 40 minutes to get his first proper technique right. 3 or 4 times we played him in early in that first half, and he just carried the ball for too long and he'd lost it. He was dispossessed. He should have passed it, and the one time he did try and pass it, the pass was poor. Benrahma is a touch player. He needs players around him to be playing well. And here's the point. So if you're lacking the cutting edge, I would look at that and I'd think, well, if I was looking for a goal at the end of that game, I'd probably be saying, right, okay, well, Bowen's got to stay on him, and Benrahma's likely to do something. If anyone's going to score a late goal, in fact, he showed it in Europe, it's going to be Benrahma, right? He did it last season as well. So really, I would look at it and I think, well, Antonio doesn't quite look himself, and Benrahma is well off form. And there's your cutting edge. So I think the thing is, why not just take Fornals off and put Yarmolenko on? It's not ideal, I know. Put Lanzini on. I think at that point in that game, Lanzini probably would have been doing better than Fornals was doing. And I love Fornals. Look, I love him. I love him, all right? Praised him loads, and I'll continue to praise him this season. But he needed to be substituted in that game. It's plain and simple. It's not being disloyal or overly critical to say that. It's a legitimate, as Irish Tommy would say, it's a legitimate football opinion. I'm not I'm not calling his nan horrible names or anything like that. He needed to be substituted. The other one, the Antonio bit, comes down to the striker. And unfortunately, this is just what is supposed to happen when you've got a team. Look, I understand we didn't have enough money for a striker, or a striker wasn't available. We brought Vlasic instead. It's done. It's done. There's nothing more we can do about it. I get the impression David Moyes is saving his striker money until he can get the guy that he really wants, which I have thought for some time is Joseph En-Nesyri. Still, ouch! I just hit. Do you see that? I hit it. Gio did that once on the radiator. Do you remember? I've just hit my bloody arm. Anyway, well built. I just, what bloody hell was I talking about? I bloody lost it now. I've banged my arm so much. Anyway, sorry, cutting edge. I feel that what you would do, or what most managers would do, if they were lacking a bit of a cutting edge, would be to bring on a striker, and we just don't have that in our armoury. Maybe even less so than last season, because this whole conversation about Bowen being a replacement for Antonio, well, that's all well and good, but what if Bowen's on the pitch? Then who replaces Antonio? Because Bowen's already on there. And I think, look, Mipo Odebeko, I almost did it again. Mipo Odebeko, is he the answer? Possibly not. But to not have a striker of some description on the bench was quite telling, I thought. And I just think if you're going to need that cutting edge, someone stick the ball in the back of the net. That was it. So I think all of those factors play far more into it than just fitness. We'll deal with fitness. That's another boring. That's more boring than jigsaws, talking about fitness. But the jigsaw is good. The jigsaw is going to be very good. So yeah, as I say, get your name down if you want to feature in the jigsaw. So basically, when we're selling this thing in when we fully officially open the Hammers Chat shop, and we have a Hammers Chat jigsaw, and you're seeing some big crowd scene in the stadium and whatnot. If you want to be part of that crowd, go to canningtownlen.com/karate chop jigsaw. If you want to go and see what else Canning Town Len's doing, I've just hit my elbow again, including these lovely shinies. Then go to canningtownlen.com/hammers chat. You can pick up all sorts of goodies. I'll be showing you a lot more about that in the future. Right, okay, thank you for indulging me today. I'm a little bit less grumpy today, probably Len's t-shirt that's done it. I'll catch up with you all tomorrow, probably nursing a bandaged elbow.